Hey everyone, how is it going? We're in the Queen City, Cincinnati, Ohio. Our road trip, stop number 4, we've been to Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Columbus. Now, our third and final city in Ohio. All three major cities in Ohio we have visited, and now we're capping it off with Cincinnati, the city with the seven hills, or the city, something like that. I don't know. There's more than seven hills, though. I do know that. Um, but that's just the nickname. So we arrived pretty late. The bus in Columbus, it was a Barron's bus this time, which is, I guess they're under the same company as Greyhound, or at least it's on the same app. So it was very late. We were waiting in Columbus for so long. I don't know what happened to the stations, the bus stations. um, since Columbus was literally a garage. I mean, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit, they were all like actual stations, with bathroom facilities, space and place to plug in your phone or whatever. Columbus was a garage. It had a couple of porta potties. And then Cincinnati, I don't understand. It's like a parking lot. I don't really understand what it is. Um, so I don't know. The Greyhound stations have gone downhill, and I guess it started off not so good in that sense because the Cincinnati bus station is way out there. It's not anywhere near downtown. It's like right on the border of the actual city. So it's like way out there with the suburbs. It's Blue Ash, Ohio, I think is where it's technically located in. That's at least where I'm staying because I have to wake up super early tomorrow to catch the bus to go to Louisville. Okay, so I should already be sleeping by now, but I gotta record this. My first impressions of Cincinnati. And we went through a couple of museums, and then we also went to the Riverwalk. Every city's got their Riverwalk in the Midwest, and maybe we should do like a ranking best Riverwalk in the Midwest. We already know what it is because back to back two-time reigning champ. If you know, you know. But I do feel kind of bad for Cincinnati. I want to come here again. It was just too short. Like my stay was just too short. I thought it was going to be longer, or at least I guess I thought that I was going to be able to do something on the day I got here, which was yesterday. Today I had a full day here in Cincinnati, and then tomorrow early morning I got to leave. So I thought, I guess because the bus in Columbus was very late, but also just because from where I'm staying, it takes almost 2 hours via the bus to actually get like downtown or to a different location in Cincinnati. Like from here to the William Howard Taft House and Museum, which is the first place I went to, that was like an hour and a half. And then, it's from there to downtown is like very short, because then I went there to the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center, which is free today. It's free on the fifth and third Sundays of every month. So not very often, but my trip happened to line up where it was a free day, and it's one of the like I don't know if it's the best museum I've ever been to. Maybe top 2, 3 somewhere in there. It's like got a lot of content, and there's definitely a lot of things to learn, which I'll talk about in a second. But the other issue I ran into is that not only was I struggling versus the suburbs, a certified suburb hater. Well, not really a hater, but you know, it wouldn't hurt to have a sidewalk on every street. Walking through like some random patches of grass and whatnot is just not the greatest thing. So there goes suburbia. But it was also very rainy. It was pouring a good chunk of the time I was spending outside. So that was kind of unfortunate just because I was all wet. I mean, like, yeah, wearing a jacket, okay, oh well. Um, but it just did deter a little bit from what I was doing, even if it didn't stop me from doing. I mean, certain times the wind was cranking. It was really just going like literally. I was at this I guess it was like I don't know, like a Filipino cultural like showcase. They were doing like dances and stuff, and then the wind started to pick up a little bit. They're like, we gotta call it off. Everyone get safe. Go to wherever you need to go. Go in the Kroger across the street. I did go in the Kroger. I bought some groceries at the Kroger. First time going in a Kroger officially. Actually, I was in the first time going to an Aldi in Columbus. So first time, I use these grocery stores all the time, but I get delivery from Instacart. So the first time actually going in them. And so the wind's cranking, the rain is coming down for a good chunk of time when I'm outside at the riverfront at Smale. It's called Smale Riverfront Park. Um, and I also just don't think I got to do as much as I wanted to just because of my location. But the location I had to be at this location because it's as close as I can get to the Greyhound bus stop, or if I have to wake up early no matter what, even if I had to, even if I was, I guess well, either way, I just have to wake up early. And so I want to be as close as possible so I can not miss the bus because that would be terrible. But I guess it wouldn't be as terrible as missing the bus earlier on in the trip because, well, we only got two cities left, Louisville and Indianapolis. So maybe that's why it was a bit underwhelming, or maybe it's just because most of what I was doing was visiting museums, and I guess when I picture what I did, I don't even think of the museums. I'm gonna think about them right now. I'm gonna tell you some of the things I learned, but I guess it doesn't really what makes a place great is not necessarily its museums. I think those are additive to the overall experience. And honestly, I really like learning. So museums are great for that. But I guess it doesn't come to mind. I guess what I want most is a great park. And my experience at the park today was not ruined, but downgraded a bit. We did also see the Great American Ballpark, which is really cool, which is where the Cincinnati Reds play, and then also Paycor Stadium, which is where the Cincinnati Bengals play. Not very cool, but I mean the Bengals are cool. The Bengals are good now. I mean they've been to the AFC Championship the last 2 years, won it 2 years ago, lost the Super Bowl, and now lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, who eventually won the Super Bowl. So I mean, there's other things like in Cincinnati, like the art museum. I did want to go, but just the time didn't line up. Um, they have stuff outside, like the park around the art museum. They have Union Terminal, but I don't really understand Union Terminal. Like it's an old, train station. It's not used for, the train station anymore, which is great. I love a train station. If you know on this channel, I love Michigan Central Station in Detroit. It's my favorite building of all time or something. But I don't understand it because you have to pay to go in and you can't just walk around. So at least from my information that I'm getting, tell me if I'm wrong, please. And they have the world-class Cincinnati Zoo. But I'm mostly just going for free things on this trip, and that's what I did. And let's start with the William Howard Taft House. So maybe you don't know anything about William Howard Taft. I don't think I didn't know anything either. I looked up he's the 27th president, okay, and also, was president in around 1901 or to 1905 or some I don't know 1900 and whatever the years are, so early 1900s, okay. And what I learned is that he's actually part of a family, at least 3 generations of people who are trying to do good things and counteract corruption in politics. But William Howard Taft is known probably as a president, but is not really a president. Yeah, he was a president for 1 term, but he was also the 10th, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court afterwards. And before that, local and law person, law person, but also, his children, and also his parents, Louise and starts with an A. I believe Alfonso. Alfonso. Yeah. Okay. But he's called Big Lub. I took a picture of that because I was like, what? That's a funny nickname. Um, but he also like was big in like the Philippines, when the Americans like took control and like tried to form like a government in the Philippines. Um, Literally their entire family line is like based on, or like their goals are to do the right thing and to help people the best they can. And that was actually like very heartwarming and enlightening to see that he was trying to counteract that corruption, and it was instilled in him from his parents, and then also he instilled that same thing with his children. And the house was it's a house is cool, just walk around and see. And then they got all these exhibits in there as well. And the backyard was only part of it, but there was like a garden and like farm area back in the day. But it was, now they have a juvenile detention center back there, so it's like there's a bunch of concrete. But you know, just chill to go through there, and then immediately go across the street, catch the bus to the Underground Railroad and downtown. The Underground Railroad Freedom Center, another interesting museum where you learn about people like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Abraham Lincoln, General Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, those two on the Confederate side, Harriet Beecher Stowe, author who kind of shed light on what was happening with slavery and how, how dehumanizing or how evil it was. And so a lot of people noticed or like took note of that, like once that book or one of her books came out. Other people, off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Let's see. I mean, there's Stephen Douglas, who ran against Abraham Lincoln, who was, also like on the Confederate side. So you learn about like both sides. You see like different things that people had to go through, especially having to, like, people on the outside trying to help slaves escape from their owners, and then also what happened after the Emancipation Proclamation, which basically it freed slaves on the Confederate side to dismantle and disrupt. It didn't actually free slaves on like in the northern territories, but it was to dismantle and trying to end the war, which it eventually did. And then actually, so soon after, I didn't realize it was actually so soon after, but like Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. And then Andrew Johnson, like the next president, wasn't actually like as big into that, into like trying to make sure that all these people, all these recently freed people have rights. He wasn't like huge into that. So there was like another person who was like tasked with, keeping that going. And all these people, different parts leading, to different things. The other laws that made it illegal, and for, I guess slaves who escaped to actually be free. Like, they had so many laws against those people and to try and return them to their owners. So all these different things that you can learn about. There's so much to it, and it was cool to see like a bunch of people there, obviously on a free day, just learning about American history. And, well, actually, not just American history, because there was some stuff on slavery and just like child labor, just all over the world, even today. So a lot of things, like human trafficking was there as well. So a lot of different things that are bad things that I think people should learn about. And it's cool that that museum is there, and it's cool that there's an opportunity on some days to see it for free. So if you ever are there on a free day, or if you pay, whatever it is, like, I don't know, $20 or whatever, go ahead and check that out and see all the different things that were happening and all the timelines that there are for it. It definitely opens up your mind. And like, these are things you learn in school if you grew up in the United States, but they aren't hammered down as much as when you go see them in a museum. At least for me, like, I know somewhat of history. I know of like key events in history from school, but to actually like read through, if you're into learning and able to read and comprehend some stuff and look at the timeline and the graphics help out and stuff, it's definitely a cool thing to see. And then after that, I went outside to downtown, just try to walk around. And this was the part I was kind of underwhelmed by, just because like I didn't really find very many things to do or many like things to see in downtown. So if you're from Cincinnati, please let me know what I missed, because I'm sure there are some things I missed. I just didn't know necessarily where to look. I did go to like Fountain Square or whatever. There was, there was like a roller skating rink there. There wasn't really anything else. They were like setting something up, so maybe there was going to be an event later. On the Rhine was where the Filipino like dancing thing was. So like that was cool. That was cool. There's a lot of people there to see that. But Smale Riverfront Park was the only other thing I saw. It was really good, I would say. I would say it was, well, maybe not really good, but pretty good. I do like the one bridge that goes to, that's like right in the middle. It goes somewhere over to Kentucky. Basically, across the Ohio River is Kentucky. So one of the cities in Kentucky is that cool bridge, the cool one that is actually the basis for the Brooklyn Bridge. So this one actually came first. And then it's just a cool park. There's some good like garden areas and some fountains and different things, mostly just for walking. Similar to other riverfronts. I'm very familiar with the Detroit River Walk, so it's a river walk, and I think it's pretty cool. And actually, one more thing about the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center was that they had this cabin that housed like slaves who were on the Underground Railroad, the trail to get like freed or go to the north or wherever they were going to, either Canada or Mexico or wherever they were going. Like there were an actual cabin or like barn type thing that they brought over from wherever it was, and then they patched it up a little bit, and it's actually in there. So that was cool. Like they literally brought it from where it was. So yeah, I guess like all that is to say that I think my trip in Cincinnati was just a spark to come here again, because I don't think I gave it a fair shot, just because it was I guess 4 out of the 6 cities were like major stops on my road trip, and I don't feel like I gave it enough for a major stop. Like just for the sheer amount of things that I had listed on potential things I could do on my itinerary, I just don't think I hit them all, or maybe I just need to experience it when it's not pouring rain. So I want to give it another chance soon, or maybe not soon, but like at some point. But now I guess it's on to Louisville. So anything else to say? I don't think so. Cincinnati. Let me know in the comments anything you want to share about Cincinnati, any facts any things I missed, I didn't talk about at all. Let me know, and continue on watching with this road trip. You can subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more about the road trip, more about like Detroit. If you've never been there, I do a lot of content on Detroit, and then I want to like compare cities in the future, especially after this road trip where I got a firsthand look at a bunch of different cities. So hit the thumbs up to help me out, and I guess click the next video if it's out by now, or if you're watching this when it comes out, then go watch the last ones. Thanks for watching, and see you in Louisville.